everyone. If this is your first time here, welcome. If it isn't, thanks so much for stopping by. Today we're going to be working on the second part of our trip to Paris, and I'm going to be documenting 2 spreads. So let's get started. As usual, I printed out the photos ahead of time and put them in their pockets to keep them in order. On these 2 spreads, I'll mainly be using the Pinkfresh Studio Out and About collection, including the paper pad that we just saw. I cut one piece of paper into a 4x6 and then into 2 3x4 cards to act as backgrounds for tags and whatnot. I wanted to stamp our location onto the adventure tag, so I pulled out some of my smaller alpha stamps, all by Kelly Purkey. And I chose the alpha stamps from the Kelly Purkey Alpha Tabs Die and Stamp Set, say that 5 times fast, to stamp on Louvre onto the adventure tag. As you may have noticed, I get distracted easily and I put all of the other filler cards and the journal cards in their place. I think this was because I wanted to make sure that the other tag had enough space to stamp Notre Dame on it, since I wanted the 2 cards on the edges to mirror each other. It also took me a really long time to get these stamps on there. I wanted to make sure that they were straight before placing them onto the acrylic block. I tend to put stamps on crooked, and I wanted to get these straight. I tried 2 different colors of gray ink. I wanted the darker ink because I felt like the lighter one was a little too washed out, and I didn't like the consistency of it. So I tested it first, and then I went and stamped it onto the actual tag. And I added the date with my roller stamp. Using the advanced tape runner, I adhered the tag onto the card, and then I put it in its pocket. Moving on to the Mona Lisa photo, man, that was one crowded room. My sister actually told me and my mom that the room is packed and the Mona Lisa is actually quite small, but I didn't expect all the madness that came with trying to get a photo at the front. I added the journaling right onto the photo using the precision pen. Next, we're just gonna add a tiny bit of journaling onto a photo of the room with the crown jewels. That room was absolutely breathtaking. I couldn't get over it. We spent quite a lot of time looking up at the ceiling, and my goodness, there was the biggest diamond. I didn't add a picture just because I didn't feel like you could really tell how big it was based on the picture. Next, I journaled about our day at the Louvre. I don't like watching myself write, so I always cut out most of it. We had lunch at the bistro inside the Louvre, and I loved the band that came with the napkin, so I saved it because I thought that it would look good in the album. I selected a card with a background that wasn't competing with the band. I folded the band so it wouldn't take up the whole length of the card, and I adhered the band to the card. I then taped together the card and the photo so that they wouldn't slip around inside the pocket. I loved the blush and white card, but I didn't love the sentiment that was embossed on the card, and the Let's Wonder die cut covered it perfectly, and I'm glad that it went along with all the pink and red that I had going on this spread. This trip was about 2 months before the fire at Notre Dame, so we were fortunate enough to be able to go in. We marveled at its beauty and how old it actually is. My mom, she lit a candle when we were there, and she also took the photos of the model of Notre Dame, which are on the 2 bottom photos. And I'm incredibly thankful for this opportunity. I stamped a Notre Dame with the same alpha stamps. I adhered the tag onto the card. And I put it in its pocket. Next, I journaled with white pen. Yes, I finally got a replacement white pen. And then I fanned it a little bit so it would dry quicker, but I decided that I was just gonna leave it aside for now. And we moved on to the next spread. On Valentine's Day, we went up the Eiffel Tower, and I really struggled with the cards on this spread. I kept changing my mind. All I knew was that I really love Paris. So I started with the first place I was sure of, which was journaling about the Eiffel Tower light show. Of course, I was distracted by the photo that it still needed to be put in its pocket, and I took this opportunity to grab the photo of us cheersing, is that a word? With the champagne at the top of the Eiffel Tower. Like I said, playing around with those cards some more. I have an old Paris stamp set from Laura by Laura, and it's got the Paris skyline, which I wanted to use for this card. Love here as in Paris, and this building. It was my favorite apartment building that we would walk by from the metro station, and I wanted to document it. This cute tag was a bit too tall for the pocket, so I trimmed it, and then I trimmed it a little bit more. It goes with the photo of the boulangerie that we would have breakfast at. And I used the stamp of a croissant from the same stamp set to put a little pattern on there. I also checked off a few boxes on this cute tag, and I added a little bit of journaling around the geotag. I give everything away. Tapping my fingers on a photo or a card means that I'm thinking about what I'm going to put on there next. And in this case, I want to stamp cheers using white ink onto the photo with the Kelly Perky Addison stamp set. And because we only have one E, I put CHE the first round and then ERS on the next round. Clean them a little bit, put them back in their place so I don't lose them. And the Laura by Laura stamp set had some hearts, although I wasn't crazy about how they turned out on the actual photo. They looked a little bit misshaped, but I was just gonna let it go. I finally decided what I was gonna do with this pocket. I wanted to use a filler card that had some hearts that were outlined and some that were filled in with pink. And I grabbed an old tag from Target. I'm going to add the date with the StazOn ink because these are a little bit slick, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't smudge. What I'm cleaning my stamp with is a stamp chamois from Lawn Fawn, and it works really well. I just used my scrap piece of paper to make sure that the stamp was dry so I wouldn't smudge it. I added some journaling using a Sharpie, and then I adhered the tag onto the card. I'm still struggling with the fill cards, and then I remembered that I had a ticket from the Eiffel Tower that I wanted to include in this spread. It's a big old piece of paper, and so I just wanted to cut out the actual ticket part and hope that it would fit into the pocket. Nope, it's a little too tall. I didn't want to use this card because the colors didn't come out too much, and I liked the sentiment on it too much to cover it up. I also like this pink card, so I didn't want to cover up the cute little frame within it. I wanted a background that didn't compete with the ticket, and the hearts were a little bit too much. I thought maybe the scrap piece of paper could work if I split it in half, and then I added 1/2 to each side of the ticket. So I went with a light gray and white striped card. And then I wanted to add a little bit of something to connect the blue from that tag on the top right. So I brought in the Tourist Mode die cut from the Out and About collection by Pinkfresh Studio. Back to the ticket, I trimmed it a little bit more, and I thought, I'm gonna go with it anyway, even if it sticks out on the other side, I don't care. I put it in the pocket, and you know what? It didn't even stick out that much. So then I grabbed some of those foam circles. I wanted to add this on top of the photo and the ticket, and I wanted to add a little bit more dimension to the page. I added a little die cut that said "Savor the Moment" to the photo of my mom and me, because that's exactly what we were doing at the top of the Eiffel Tower. And then I wanted to add something to the photo of my husband and me, and I pulled out these chipboard stickers from Studio Calico, and I chose a circle with a heart. And then I wanted to add something else to connect the tourist mode and the blue tag, and I added a couple of these enamel dots. So are you sick of me playing with the filler cards yet, or what? I grabbed the die cut that said Discover, and again, the same problem as before. I like the little frame on this card too much to cover it up. I like the sentiment from the card from Ali Edwards that said, "Travel is music to my soul," but I wanted something pink. Back to the love card. I tried a couple of things. A die cut that said, "Oh, wherever you go, go with all your heart." Also from Ali Edwards, Here and There. And then back to Discover. I tried a different background for the Discover. Nope. I wasn't happy with any of it. And finally, I went with Day Was Just Perfect, because it was. We went to the Moulin Rouge in the evening. We had tried to go to a show earlier that week, but it didn't pan out. And then we went to the light show, which I just couldn't get enough of the Eiffel Tower. So what I'm doing next is I'm gonna put in an insert, and I wanted the Louvre map to be included in my album along with some other photos, and I'm using a 12 by 12 insert to add the photos in there. It just happened to fit perfectly, and I'm gonna use the Fuse tool. Well, it's by Project Life, so maybe it's not called the Fuse tool, to customize this page protector. I waited 20 minutes to let the tool heat up so that it would be nice and hot. These photos are from when we went to the Louvre and we were walking around. The first one with the arc is from the Louvre. I don't remember exactly where we took the photo of the carousel, but it was definitely near the Louvre. Then what I was trying to figure out was which one was going to go on top of the second set of photos, because I'm just going to seal it shut. I don't feel like there's going to be a need for me to take out the photos. So if I wanted to take out the photos though, I would create a slit so that I would only be able to take them out from one side. I went with the photo of the Louvre pyramid on the bottom because I felt like that was the heaviest, and you usually want things that are the heaviest to go on the bottom. Well, I was trying to jam the photo of the pyramid inside the pocket that was slightly too big. The seal came a little bit undone, so I just wanted to strengthen it a little bit more so that the division would stay put. So before I sealed the photos in, I wanted to make sure that the top ones fit, and then from that gap that it created between the two sets of photos, then I would create my division. So you might be wondering why I added a 12 by 12 insert if my album is 6 by 9. Well, I wanted to fold the insert. The other option would have been to have two 6 by 12 inserts, one that had two pockets and one that was solid, but I wasn't crazy about that. And if you watch The Devil Wears Prada, this fountain might look familiar to you. It's the one where Andy threw her cell phone in when she was in Paris. It's not 100% obvious that this insert folds out, so I wanted to add a tab to the inside of it. I had 2 of the same Cedar Lane word sticker sets, so I used the ones that said #LoveThis for the tab. So the last thing is to add the Eiffel Tower pamphlet onto the album, and I used a couple of tab stickers and punched some holes in them. And that's it for this video and our trip to Paris. I hope you enjoyed it. I have listed all the items that I used on the blog post on wanderlustdocumented.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll tell you what I'm supposed to tell you: like, subscribe, etc. I really appreciate it. Bye!